for joining me for today's tutorial where I'll be sharing my insider tips for creating the perfect buttercream finish cake. I found my years as working as a pastry chef and cake decorator that these are some of the most fuss-free, straightforward ways to getting those smooth sides, even layers, and super sharp edges. If you found this helpful, feel free to leave a comment down below, and as always, keep in touch by clicking the subscribe button. Let's get to it! So here are some of the tools that I've used to create my buttercream finish, and I've included the full list of tools down in the comments below. And you definitely want to start with pre-baked cakes. Cakes baked the day before will be best. And I've got here vanilla butter cakes, and you can also use mud cakes. Mine are 3 inches tall and 6 inches in diameter. But you can do them in any other size that you wish in terms of diameter. And so I start by taking the rim off, and you do this by focusing your eye on the edge, the rim of the cake, cutting and turning all the way around. And once you've reached the end, slice right through. And you want to do the very same thing to cut your cakes in half. Start by focusing your eye in the middle, cut all the way around, and once you meet the bit that you've started at, slice right through your cakes. And this should give you 2 even slices of cake for stacking later. You want to do the same thing with your other cake, cutting off the rim and then slicing all the way around to make it 2 even layers of cake. Now you start stacking by placing some buttercream dolloped in the middle and then placing your first layer of cake in the center of your board. And next, very important step, I like to brush a simple syrup, which is some water cooked with a little bit of sugar and flavoring like vanilla, and I find this keeps your cake very moist. So once you've finished that, I like to pipe a ring of buttercream all around the edge of the cake with a 12mm nozzle. And after I do this, after I've piped the whole rim, I like to fill the center with buttercream using my palette knife. And the reason why I do this is so that all the layers of buttercream throughout the cake are the same thickness. Next, you want to stack your second layer of cake on top. You want to try and keep sure that it's level and it's centered. And then you want to repeat the steps of brushing syrup on, and afterwards piping buttercream around the edge and then filling the center with buttercream. Repeat with cake, syrup, buttercream, and your final layer of cake. And you want to finish off with another last brush of simple syrup. The next step is optional, but I find it very important, and it's trimming the crusts off the cake. I find that the crust can get quite chewy and hard for eating, and so I'll definitely recommend using a sharp serrated knife, trimming all the way around the cake. And I find that this gives you a nice flushed cake surface to work with later. The next step is called the crumb coat, and it's the first thin layer of buttercream that covers your cake. And I always start by pelleting on some buttercream on the top of the cake. And once you've done that, move on by pelleting on a thin layer of buttercream around the sides. And I find this step really important as the crumb coat helps trap all of the crumbs within this first layer of buttercream. And so when you go on to put your final layer of buttercream, it's pristine and totally crumb-free. Once you've done that, scrape off all of the buttercream from the top edge of the cake. And that's by scraping it towards the center of the cake. The final layer of buttercream now goes on, and you want to apply a very thick layer of buttercream on the top section of your cake with your palette knife, going back and forth and turning as you go along. You want to try and get this top layer as smooth as you possibly can. And now moving on to the sides, again we want to palette on quite a thick layer of buttercream all around the sides, making sure to fill up every bit of the cake. Now I'm using an acrylic scraper with straight sides, and you want to hold it parallel to the cake, pressing down onto the board, turning as you go along. You should be scraping all of the excess buttercream off the cake, revealing a nice smooth surface. Remember to scrape off the bench scraper in between each pass, and with a couple of passes you should get a nice smooth surface. You'll start to notice at this stage that some craters or holes might be appearing, and what you want to do is to fill that up with some excess buttercream. So just dollop on some buttercream to where you find the craters appearing all around the cake. And once you've done that, go through with maybe 1, 2 or 3 more passes, and you should get a perfectly smooth surface all around your cake. Try not to scrape too many times, as you might end up taking off more buttercream or too much buttercream off your cake. And this next bit is what gives you your super sharp edges. Start by heating a small knife in some very hot water, and then carefully run the knife all around the edge of the cake and remove all of the scraggly bits that are cut off. Take your time with this and ensure that you're cutting evenly across the entire rim. Remove all of the excess buttercream, and there you have it, a beautiful, perfectly smooth buttercream cake with super crisp edges. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to catching you next time for another Sugar Cakes tutorial. To stay up to date with all new Sugar Cakes videos and tutorials, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you're not missing out on any new content.